audio. Hello. So we're recording, broadcast, and live on Facebook. Next. All right. Preparing.
Raphael, did I hear you're going to Marble?
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, let's see.
Oh, Carolina.
there?
Welcome, Carolina. Thanks for joining us. We're just getting things set up on Facebook, so it'll just be a few minutes. Back to preview. Okay, that looks good. Back to
Oh yeah, so the Q&A. Okay, cool. Attendees. Awesome. Hey Max, I see you made it. I'm glad you're here, buddy. If you have any questions, type something in the Q&A there, or the chat, I think. There we go. Hey, nice. Well, I'm trying to wait till we get a couple more attendees, but I'm going to go through some of the cool things that I found here. And I'm excited to show everybody. I'm bringing a few objects home. A couple of them are going to get hung on my wall. It's going to be a great decoration for the new loft that I just moved into before I got here.
just a few minutes while we go live.
Well,
Let's see. Elsewhere is live. I think we're live. Let's see.
super.
Yep, we're live. All right. So it's 6 o'clock. Let me come back to you guys. All right, so we have one attendee at the moment, so let's give people a few more minutes to come in.
Sure.
We have a chat from Max.
Well,
Foxy.
yeah, it's my brother.
Yeah, welcome.
Mac, it's been real hot here, and finally it just started to rain. I don't know if you've been watching the news, but there's been a crazy amount of forest fires going on that I'm pretty sure are continuing. And they're breaking records. It's a terrible thing. Hopefully now that the weather's starting to shift, it'll start to digress a little bit and the main highway can open up again. But yeah, it's been this entire month since I got here. It's been practically like 85 to 95 degrees every day, super dry. The good thing about it though is that it's not humid, so you know you got a little breeze in the hot sun, and it's not that bad actually. Versus the Midwest, where sometimes it gets up to 95 degrees and it's humid and there's no escaping it. So it was a good change, definitely a good shift.
All right, I will keep looking at Facebook to see what we have over there. Currently, we have 3 people watching that have joined us from Facebook. Welcome. And
Yeah.
1 person here. So I guess give it a couple more minutes.
So Max, what do you think I spent the most time on out here? Painting, drawing, or making videos? I'll wait to see what your guess is. Painting is probably, out of the 3, it's probably third. Drawing and painting were pretty close, but I spent the most time on working on videos. Yeah, dude. Next time. I spent the most time working on some videos, but I'm going to show a whole bunch of stuff and yeah, show the drawings and the paintings as well as the videos, which are animations. So pretty excited. I can't wait to show you guys.
We're excited too to have you show us. I'd say we probably should get started. We've got a total of 6 people now, and we'll probably have some stragglers along the way, and we'll get going.
Okay.
But, so, did you want to show your tools, or do you want to wait for your talk?
You know, you can do the intro, and then I'll show them before I screen share.
Okay, cool. All right. Well then, hi everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for August's artist webinar. We are super excited to share the work of our 2 residents here, Jake Doxey and Rafael Lamas. But before we get started, I want to say thank you to the Paradise Theater for hosting our summer art film series. With the theater, we were able to bring the Hilma F. Klimt documentary, Beyond the Visible, which is an artist biopic, as well as a look and a critique at the male-dominated story of modernism. And then we brought The Pioneers of Queer Cinema, a series of 3 early queer films from the 20s and 30s. And finally, which ended yesterday, we showed Jazz on a Summer Day, a concert film set in the 1958 Newport Jazz Festival. And also thanks to anyone who bought tickets. It helps both the theater and us out a lot. If there are any potential applicants in the audience tonight, we have an open call for summer 2021 residencies that will be closing on Tuesday, the 1st of September. Feel free to email me at admin@elsewherestudios.org with any questions. Now to introduce the artist, starting us off tonight is Jake Doxey. Jake is a visual artist joining us from Minneapolis, Minnesota. He was born in 1994 in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, and attended the University of Wisconsin-Stout, where he attained a BFA in studio art with a painting concentration. He was initially dedicated to oil painting, but he also creates stop-motion animations with traditional mediums. After Jake, we have Rafael Lamas, who is an orchestra conductor, a concert pianist, and a full professor at Fordham University. He has performed throughout Europe and the United States, and is a former recipient of the Rome Prize. He is currently working on a project exploring the relationship between music and literature, and Raphael lives in both New York and Spain. Finally, just a little bit of housekeeping for the audience who are new to Zoom or watching from Facebook. You are not a visible participant, but you can ask questions, make comments. There is 2 buttons down at the bottom of the Zoom screen. One is for chatting and one is for asking questions. All questions asked will be saved to the end, and I'll share them with the panelists. And if you're watching from Facebook, we encourage you to ask questions too. Just drop them in the comments, and I'll be sure to relay them. Now I'll hand it over to Jake.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming in and joining us tonight. I'm Jake. I'm going to get started. So this is the first residency I've been on, and I was really excited once I found out that I was still going to be able to join with the coronavirus and everything. So I made the drive over from Minnesota, St. Paul, and as soon as I got to Colorado, things got really interesting. It's the farthest west I've ever driven, and it's the longest road trip I've ever been on. So I did a lot of things when I was here, painting, drawing, and video work, and one of those things required me to collect items and objects, and it was the video work. So I went about making this flyer here, and I hung it up in town and nearby. People were ripping the numbers off like crazy and giving me calls, and I had 4 really awesome calls. And it was also a great way to meet some of the locals here. So some of the kind of prize items that I got are kind of random. I got this old ladle, pure metal. This thing is going to survive the apocalypse, and I'll be serving soup out of it for years to come. I can't wait to use it in a still life or a video or something like that in the future. This is the pickaxe that I got, the head of it here. If you look underneath it, you can see that it's from 1944. I'm gonna hold it still here. Oh, you can almost read it, but not quite. Okay, that thing was cool. And then I got this gnarly sickle. How rugged is that thing? Yeah, kind of just sweet. Those 3 things came from a guy named James, who goes by Iron Horse. He's a musician and has done a lot of things in his life, and we had a really great talk, and he let me take those. And then the 3rd or 4th thing that I got here is a full-on pickaxe. This thing looks super old. I'm going to guess it is from the really early days, around the late 1800s when the gold mining started here, just based on the shape that it's in. Anyways, I can't wait to go home and hang this thing up on my wall. These are things that are used in the video, so you're going to spot a few of them when we get to that point in the presentation. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to show that in person before I hop into screen share, which I'm about to do. Okay. Application window. Okay, 1 second here. Let me just get this going. Okay, come on. Here, I think I know what I gotta do. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Well, I hope everybody can hear me. So anyways, here we go. So I drove down from St. Paul and just took the interstate. I was really hoping to bump into some interesting things on the way. Kind of few and far between, probably due to the route that I took. I kept on going, kept on chugging, and eventually I hit Denver. Once I hit Colorado, things started to pop up left and right. It really felt like I had entered into a whole different world. And I'll show you some of the cool things that I saw along the way here. So this is really early on. This is in Sedgwick, Colorado, just outside of the town, in between the highway and the town. It's this abandoned gas station that I found, and kind of down the hill across the road from it is a cafe, which I originally stopped at because I was like, we're in the middle of the desert, it looks like. What is this cafe doing here? And then boom, it was like, okay, what's that up on the hill? So I checked this thing out. I'm a real sucker for abandoned places. And so, of course, I got to go inside and take some pictures and see if there's any cool things to take with me. I didn't really find much there, but it was still an interesting stop. I worked at a gas station for a couple of years, so it's, you know, there's kind of something there for me. Continuing through Colorado, I hit a point where I needed some gas, and so I just hopped off the highway and went to a town called Brush. Really small town, super interesting. They have a power plant there. I snagged a shot of the power plant. Just thought it was kind of a cool thing. So fast forward, this is after Denver. When I was in Denver, I went to the art museum, stayed at a cousin's house. This was when I was on my way to Breckenridge, and I was on Highway 6. I saw something across the river, kind of dilapidated building, and like I said with the abandoned buildings thing, I had to go over there and check it out. So this was kind of the first sprawl of junk that was there. Here is the main building that I saw. Pretty cool. Of course, there's going to be graffiti on it. Hopefully it's good graffiti. Not always the case, kind of a bummer when it's not. So I went inside, pretty run-of-the-mill. This is the kind of thing that you'll see anywhere. I guess I'm not too surprised that you find this kind of urban painting in Colorado due to how popular it's become. I wish I could find these things before other people left such a strong mark on them, but that's not the case. Anyways, kind of thought this house was a dead end. When I was just about to make my exit, I found this kind of door at the end of a dark hallway and decided to peer through the door, and this is what I found. Whoa. And wow, so I was like, holy smokes, I've never seen anything like this before. I don't know if it was a mine exactly. It wasn't that big, but definitely like stepping into a different world. A very cool little space. I kept traveling through here, finding more things. This cutout in the ground was piled full of junk at this point. I thought perhaps this could have been to a lower level or something like that. And as you can see, it's now filled with water. Being in this space was really cold, and it was kind of just a cool little space. Underwater pick. Oh, it's pretty. So I kept going. I hit Red Cliff, or excuse me, I think it's called a town called Redstone. These are these coke ovens that they used for mining back in the day, and then they kind of fixed up to keep them preserved. And just kind of a cool thing. Wasn't really sure what they were. Caught my eye. Did a little reading, and of course I had to get inside one. So at this point, after Breckenridge, and a great hike that I went on with my aunt at Shrine Pass, I've made it to Paonia, and I met up with the other resident here, Raphael, and the first week we went on a couple hikes. Here is a hike off of Highway 92. There's a couple reservoir hikes on this road. We did the second one. It was a 5-mile hike round trip. Pretty tough, but the way back up for some reason felt short. There you can see Raphael conquering the mountain, and the picture on the left is the reservoir that we were able to swim in. It was super cold. Yeah, that's kind of the experience swimming in these reservoirs. It's always pretty dang cold. Second hike we did here is Black Canyon. It is a really cool place. It's a little farther south than that first hike that we did. We were freaking out the whole time just due to the awesome views. It's just a whole lot of space to visually take in and a huge drop. We kind of kept finding places that we could just crawl over to the edge to look, as far down as we possibly could. Pretty freaky stuff, super interesting, and a lot of fun. So at this point, I started checking out local places. And here's a town called Somerset. It's right before Paonia. It is a super small mining town. There's an active mine still in at the Bowie mine. And not a lot of hiking here, although I can't help but to, explore places. And this spot was kind of just interesting to me driving through at night. It caught my eye. Haven't really seen such a small town, so I had to go back and kind of see. Plus, I saw a lot of junk piles here, and I was trying to get in cool with the locals to see if I could, look through their stuff, which didn't happen. So anyways, I ended up going up, climbing kind of behind the town and finding some interesting things. One of them being bones, animal bones that were pulled down these kind of stream-like trails from heavy rains. And it was a discovery that I had made, realizing that when it does rain on the mountains, there are these little streams that occur that then pick up things along the way. And I thought that was kind of an interesting idea and an interesting experience to find them. And then I kept traveling down and finding more pieces of the bones and everything. So it was kind of like, oh, okay. I also found a cave-like crevice. I couldn't fit inside it, but I was interested in it because I was like, oh man, I almost found a cave. So those things led me into doing a few drawings, thinking that I was going to be doing animations inside. I started making these backdrops. So there's the first one. This piece is the zoomed out entry for this animation, thinking that a bird is going to be coming in from the right side, going leftwards towards the crevice. As it gets closer, there's a cut screen. Bird continues, cut screen, and now you can start to see the crevice there, a dark middle point, in which the animation would then go on to tell the experience of what is inside of it, probably connecting it to some sort of mining history, maybe throw in like a mining ghost. I'm thinking I'm going to continue this project when I get home. I didn't want to stay inside and draw the whole time. So I just had to get some of these drawings out of the way because, I was still brainstorming what I really wanted to focus on. So I had some time, figured I might as well just do some drawing. Okay, and alongside the drawings, I was doing plein air paintings, trying to find cool things locally that I wanted to bring home with me. It's also a great way to bump into people if you're out there painting on location. And it's just something that I've been doing it for like 4 or 5 years. I just do small kind of studies. They're usually like an hour to 3 hour paintings. And they're just kind of like a lot of fun. So came into town. This is actually the first piece of work that I made here in town. And this thing caught my eye. It's on the other side of the railroad, and it was a house. However, due to how it looked, I was like, okay, this originally wasn't a house, so it just had a cool um, presence to it. I thought it was connected to the railroad. Anyways, this thing took 2 nights. I had a headlamp on working on it. The first night I made it about halfway through, and the dog that lives in this house sleeps in the window well on the left side. So 12 o'clock hits, the dog takes a spot and sees, somebody across the road and starts barking like crazy. So it's like, okay, I guess I got to back down tonight, because if the dog doesn't stop barking, then the owner's going to come out and be like, what's going on out here? There I am with the headlamp. It's kind of a funny thing. So I came back the second night and knocked it out. I love this little painting, and I can't wait to go home and frame it and put it on my wall. Here's another one I did. Red top. This is a view that you catch from an area called Jumbo Trails that Henry told us about. It's a cool hiking and biking spot, and yeah, just something I wanted to just paint, not something you would find in the Midwest. This bridge here is back in Somerset, and it's on the way to the hike that I did. It's a cool perspective. I haven't really done anything like this in a while. So yeah, it was just a quick 3-hour painting, fun day. I like the architecture of the bridge and how it kind of feeds into the view. And a lot of information behind it. I'm still trying to figure out how to work out the illusion of space. Not an easy thing, and definitely going to have to come back here to continue to work on it. This was a painting I did. Raphael and I were at Black Canyon. This is the last stop that we made. I actually did this painting with a pair of binoculars because it was just a rock formation that I kind of saw a little far out, and I just wanted to focus on it. I thought it was a cool thing. It kind of has this head type of shape, and was catching the light in an interesting way. Pretty abstract, like they all are. I don't know. This is a location that I went to a lot. The locals call it the Adobes. This kind of desert scape is where I ended up shooting a lot of the animations. I spent a ton of time here. I probably drove here almost every day. It was on the way to 2 towns over, the town of Crawford, on the road of Crawford. I don't want to give away too many secrets, but it's an awesome place. And the locals, yeah, it's kind of the locals seem to really like it there too. So it was a cool place for me to find and kind of bump into people at. Okay, so this one's kind of got a story. This was out painting one night too, with the headlamp. I was working on this painting, and in the distance you can just hear dogs barking all night. And I was kind of wondering, like, what is the deal? Like, why, and it's, you come to realize as things crawl your direction and the grass rustles and you're like, okay, so yeah, it's because there's like constantly things going on around here at nighttime. And towards the end of this painting, I started to hear a rustle in the grass that was bigger than all the other rustles. And I was spooked out. So I jumped back from my painting stuff and grabbed another flashlight, and the hand was shaking, and I was pointing it at the grass, like, oh man, like it's definitely big. I don't know what it is. And out popped a skunk. So then I doubled back. The skunk was, he had his back turned to me with his tail up. I just kept the flashlight on him until eventually he ran away. He didn't spray or anything like that. And then I finished this thing and I got the heck out of there. It was too much. Anyways, and this is the one of those reservoirs that you can go down and swim at. This was a long hike down there. Just a quick painting. And I want to do it to include this one in the background. You can see it start to really get that kind of gray effect. this was definitely when those fires started to change the atmosphere around Paonia, which was a solid part of the time that we were here. And yeah, I'm sure it just added a whole nother level of atmospheric perspective. Kind of interesting. So I think 2.5 weeks in, I decided to take another road trip. And I wanted to go through Colorado east again, but at this point being south, take a new highway. And plus 70, the northern main highway was closed. So I hopped in the car, I grabbed the camping stuff, and I hit the road again. Oh, here we go. And this is the route. So this is all the driving that I did. It was a 2-day thing. Right here is way up in the mountain. As you start to come down, it's called Monarch, I think is the area or the town that's closest to it. And you find this mine there. And I had to take a couple pictures of it. Really interested. Couldn't get too close. Just crazy to see these things partially dilapidated, sometimes still standing. Yeah, they're just interesting networks. Can't help but to wonder what it looks like on the inside. There's just something really, really fascinating about it, and just the whole history of Colorado being built on the mining industry is something that's really fascinating. Keep going. Another abandoned house. I had to go and check it out. Some interior shots there. Kind of scared to go on this one. You can see the roof there and everything was totally about to collapse, so I didn't venture too far into it. And then finally, as I continued up north past the town of Red Cliff, I bumped into this crazy thing. This town that was built on the edge of a cliff and around the other side. And I found out that this is called Gilman. This town has been closed for what I've been told is 20 years. I was also told it was a silver mining town. And, you know, the desire for silver went way down. And eventually, you know, they had to shut down the mine. So, yeah, I found this place. I continued on. I found a little camping spot with a trail that led to this unused railroad. So I was like, oh man, this is cool. Going through these tunnels and stuff. I was like, oh man, I wonder where this leads. And so I continue walking, and then bam, I walk into this thing. And I was like, oh boy, that looks, yeah, that looks pretty cool over there. So I continue walking, and I just kind of wanted to just kind of poke my head in real quick and see what this place is all about. And I started to find all these interesting things. Figuring now, I guess I walked back the other direction on the railroad and hit the mine from that town that eventually shut down. So being as safe as I could, I started checking this place out, finding all sorts of cool sites. Was glad I had a camera with me and everything, and I just couldn't soak it up enough, and I was seeing enough, and I was on my way out. And then I saw there's a door in the mountain with a little opening in it, so I poked my head in there, and I was like, oh my gosh, no way. So here we are looking into the mine, and this angle is actually going upwards. And who knows how far this thing goes up. I think this would be considered the vein, the mountain vein that you would find the metals in. And so, yeah, I've never seen anything like this or been anywhere like this. So I had to run through it quick and just get whatever kind of pictures I could get. something about the air. Somebody said, I read on some sort of graffiti that's bad for you. So at this point, I have my nose tucked into my t-shirt and I'm just running through trying to get these pictures, the ground sloshy and stuff. And I was like, okay, I don't want to take the wrong turn and get lost or whatever the deal is. So I got out of there. Okay. And so at this point, I had all sorts of ideas for animations. And I got to it with some of the early ones. Something about being in the desert makes me want to dig. I don't know if it's like the movies where it's like you have to drive like far out and like dig a hole to get rid of the evidence or whatever the case is. So I started digging a hole to see if I could make a cool video. Slow motion. All right, so I was like, whoa, okay. Shaky cam and stuff like that. And I had the chance to show Henry, and he was kind of like bringing up the idea of buried treasure. And I was like, oh, shoot, that's not the direction that I'm trying to go. You know, I'm more interested in the history of Colorado and this mining thing. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to shake the idea of digging up treasure with this, you know? So I kept thinking, and I reflected back to what I found on the hills of Somerset with the bones that went down the mountain with the rain that I was finding in the stream. And I was like, I wonder if I can kind of use that as this jumping off point. So I was like, okay. These are the bones that I found when I was up doing that hike and stuff. And I was like, that's interesting. I had to use a little garden shovel to kind of make these trails and stuff. And I was like, all right. This seems like a better kind of direction to go. So I'm gonna go with that. Okay. So keeping that in mind, back to the local junk thing. I was like, cool, yeah. So bones, junk, desert, the rain's washing these things together. Maybe they can connect, and the stream that's pushing them is eventually going to build some sort of a kind of multiple component machine that has some sort of a function. Again, thinking about the sequences of what miners would do, and loving just being outside working on these projects. So I had a bunch of great calls. One being from another local artist named Sean, who goes by Chrome Sean for his website, chromesean.com. And he is a sculptor. And so he calls me up and stuff. He's like, I got tons of junk. And I was like, perfect. He's right across the road from us. And so I pulled a couple things from kind of his collection and brought him over to the Jumbo Trails and made this video. All right, so this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. For animation, I've only done it with drawing. So I've never animated objects. I've never done this whole entire kind of three-dimensional way of doing it, kind of the sculptural thing. And so it was really exciting. As you can see here, I'm starting to introduce these glass shards. And so the trick there is that that place I had talked about, the adobes, the desert kind of scape, is a place where people shoot. They bring their guns and their dirt bikes, and one of their favorite, most satisfying things to shoot are glass bottles. So you would find piles of fragments of glass all over the place, and I went about selecting specific colors. I found a lot of green, I found a lot of brown, I did not find a lot of blue, so the blue were kind of special. Um, and I started to collect it. Now, going back to the stream idea, I was like, wait a minute. Instead of carving into the ground, maybe I can use these pre-existing stream trails that you can see and kind of expand on this idea. So that's what I kind of figured out with this one. Whoops. Okay. And so you're seeing a few things happen here. This is a 2-3 hour project right here. And so because I have to move every piece of glass with the bone, go and take a picture, go back, move every piece of glass, move the bone, go and take a picture over 100 times, it takes a long time. And so the sun is shifting faster, obviously, than the animation is moving. So you're getting this cast shadow that happens at a rapid speed in comparison to how things are actually moving in the animation, which I thought was awesome. Yeah, I thought that was like just a great detail that feeds into the work. Okay, so, aha, the pickaxe. So now I'm going all in with this idea. I got the glass, I got so much glass. I'm starting to find these trails that already have bones scattered throughout them naturally. And I was like, I'll just do this kind of cleanup kind of thing here. And so this project here was a full day thing. It was 8 hours outside, back and forth between the camera and the glass and the bones, moving each little piece. Definitely a lot of work. And that's 8 hours of work right there. I'll play one more time. Look at the shadow of the pickaxe. Kind of like a sundial or something. Okay. All right. So at this point, I had done a whole bunch of these animations. And I'm starting to put together this narrative, this short film. And I'm scratching my head. I'm running around this Adobe's area looking for something really specific. I was like, man, we got to end this thing, but it's got to be different. It's got to be some sort of a finale, which is when I found in my wanderings what you're looking at. And what that is a little cave. A little cave for a brave man to go ahead and crawl through. And so here's some pictures inside. This thing was cool. It's probably about 7 body lengths. And there is a part of it when you can only get through it by doing the army crawl. You can kind of get a sense of space on the bottom right corner there with how close the ceiling is to me. There isn't any place to stand up in here. There's barely space to like crawl on your knees. And so I thought, okay, let's do it. So this is my first time videotaping through it, still using the stop motion animation technique. This was just a test to see if it was possible. Uh-oh. What happened? Hold on, we're going back. There we go. Okay, that kind of got messed up, but you get the idea. So this is me going through with a tripod. The lighting's awful, so the camera's all digitalized. It's tough. And at this point, right here is where you're not going to get through with the tripod. You got to army crawl through. So that's when that's when I invented and built this bad boy. Okay. And so it's got skis on it. It's got this little light on the top there. It's at a specific angle. I was like, man, I can crawl through with this, push it along the way, snap the pictures. Let's do it. So I worked out a couple other issues with it, and then finally came up with the rest of this video. So this is the final video. Enjoy. I hope you can hear the sound. I don't know if you can or not, but here we go. All right. Oh, okay. Okay, I don't know if I know how to get out of the screen share here. There we go.
You're out of the screen share, Jake. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That was awesome. I really enjoyed how well you documented everything. The end animation was really wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So now we'll hand it over to Raphael.
Hello.
Here he is.
Okay, so that's my turn. Thank you, Jake. It's a wonderful presentation. Just to conclude your presentation, I would like to share this with the audience, which proves that indeed you were there. They are painting all these beautiful places. Okay, my presentation won't be as fun as yours. You will notice that I am not a visual artist immediately. Will be a lot of talk, a little bit of music, but a few images only. To start with, I would like to thank Henry and Carolina for this wonderful opportunity. Has been a dream to be here. This is an incredible place, full of inspiration, beautiful. It really it has made a difference for me, and I will keep it for many years in the future. No? What I would like is to, let me see if I can share something. Yeah, my contribution to this title that we prepare, no, the Shaping Perspectives and Spanish Spaces, is just talking about some practical questions for a performance. No, is the work I do. I'm a musician, no, and I'm going to talk precisely about that. No? But first, I would like to say that in my days at elsewhere, time has gained a new dimension. Suddenly, I had plenty of it, as my upcoming professional activity has come to a halt because of circumstances all you know. I'm generally a very busy person with many commitments and obligations. But in these days, since I have time for whatever I want, basically, projects I had always meant to carry out cannot wait any longer. Questions I had avoided seem now inevitable. My goal in elsewhere has been, paradoxically, not having any specific one. This is not easy for me, as I am used to have plenty of them, but somehow I have been able to delay myself and learn from purposelessness. My walks in the countryside and my conversations with my new friends have expanded my perspectives. I am a musician, I'm a music performer and writer. I conduct orchestras, play piano, write both academically and creatively. As a performer, I do not write music about it or literally on it, on the score. Today, I would like to talk about the queries of music interpretation, what it means for me and how I ought to confront the printed page, which I have pondered while at elsewhere. Paeonia has come to me as an open space for reflection to shape and reshape my perspectives on what I do and what I intend to do in the future. But since I am also an academic, you will have to excuse me, and because I would like to start by refreshing a bit of history. I cannot do otherwise. Post-Plato, Western art was negatively regarded as a mere imitation. Artists were deemed artisans and performers, mostly actors and musicians, not even so. Instead, just liars and vagabonds. In the Middle Ages, hermeneutics was born, questioning how sacred texts should be read and censoring the reader's freedom and creativity. Accordingly, when modern music appeared during the Renaissance, performers were considered passive readers of the score. While few indications were provided until the late 18th century, they were expected to objectively reproduce the compositions, even though they had to embellish their parts with improvised virtuoso passages. In the Romantic era, things dramatically changed. Performers were finally taken into consideration as creative subjects, thus becoming interpreters. From then on, a good performance had to include the expression of the inner world of the interpreter as part of the message of the piece. Nowadays, performers are even more recognized and better paid sometimes than composers, overturning their traditional inferior status. However, since being taken into account, interpreters and their interpretations have not been deemed equal. Some are judged excellent, others too emphatic or too shallow, while an objective criterion to discriminate is missing. The lack of a common yardstick puts the assessment in the hands of rhetoric and most recently business interest. As a music performer, I expect standards not to be imposed on me, no freedom and creativity be limited. However, I support the idea that not all interpretations are equal and acceptable. But elsewhere, I have questioned myself on how to interpret the pieces by Manuel de Falla I am still hoping to perform this coming 2020-2021 season. They will be performing Granada, COVID permitting, of course, in preparation of the 2022 centenary of the first flamenco competition. I would like now to share some, let me see if it's possible to share some, let me see. Okay. Oh, I have a problem now. Okay, I think I'm going to have a problem with the sharing the slides. That was a slide to illustrate well, the flamenco composition, because in 1922, the composer Manuel de Falla and the poet and playwright Federico García Lorca organized a festival to promote traditional flamenco, which in those days was fading from popularity. The celebrations took place at the Alhambra Palace in Granada and had immense repercussion in the history of the genre, reviving it nationally and internationally. In addition to promote flamenco, both artists aim at incorporating the genre into their own artistic languages, thus creating fusions between traditional popular culture and modern avant-garde. Performing Falla's music, as I pretend, entails not only the interpretation of the score, but rather it also involves taking into account how his compositions are themselves interpretations of flamenco. Yeah, let me see if I can try again, because it's better that we see slideshow is nicer. I don't think I have it here. Wait a sec. For some reason, it's not sharing the screen now. Okay. Let's see, 1 second, and I am back with you in just a second. Okay, so Zoom, share this one, and then maybe this one. Okay, so this is for instance, the first page of the El Amor Brujo is one of the pieces I have to perform this coming maybe spring. So limiting myself to the debate of the piece Love of the Magician, Love of the Magician is the translation of El Amor Brujo by Manuel de Falla, I had questioned myself on the following issues. And these are the questions I put to myself when I perform this piece. How the piece incorporates flamenco into the score, considering that the orchestration is solely for classical instruments and flamenco as an improvised music cannot be written. So there are, I am questioning the notion of fusion in this case. No? If rather than fusing popular and classical music in equal terms, the piece takes flamenco as a mere inspiration or simply imitates some of its characteristic melodic tones and harmonic progressions, the composition might hide an exotic appropriation of the popular genre by the dominant classical tradition. If that is the case, further questions involving concepts such as authenticity, exotism, reproduction, recreation, and ultimately authority and cultural colonialism will be pertinent. So the interpreter is also responsible for all these ideologies that participate in the piece. And taking the previous into consideration, I must decide on the following alternatives when conducting. For instance, regarding the soloist voice, while the piece was written for a classically trained singer, many contemporary performances take advantage of a flamenco voice. With this in mind, should the piece be sung by a classical or a flamenco singer? If sung by a classical singer, a fusion opportunity will be lost for sure. But if sung by a flamenco singer, electronic amplification will be needed, as the orchestra's volume will cover the voice and introducing technology and not by the composer. Other issues involving the voice part are some of the, I just put only 3, no? The piece should be acted because this is a staged piece, no? Or the text should be clearly declaimed, or what it should be emphasized, the expression, the rhythm, etc. And regarding tempo and dynamics, should the rhythm dominate over melody and harmony, or the contrary? Should it be relaxed to allow more freedom for the performers? If rhythm dominates, should the piece highlight virtuoso passages to strive for coherence and continuity? And if melody and harmony dominate, how much freedom should the performers have in the energetic section in order not to lose their rhythmic and ostinato flamenco? Well, these are questions that the conductor has to put himself in order to confront this piece. I have chosen two musical examples. I have conducted this piece, but I don't have a decent recording of it. So I chose two little fragments. We will hear only the first phrase, the first musical phrase. The first one by Teresa Berganza, who is a classically trained singer, and you will see the difference with the next audio clip, which will be sung by a flamenco singer. Let's try to hear this as it works.
Is it possible to turn it up?
Sorry, it's not. It was not. You cannot hear this.
Not sure about everybody else, but it's quiet on my end.
So it's not.
Same, couldn't hear it.
You couldn't hear. Well, we tried this before the other day and it worked. I don't know how to do it then. Okay.
Is the volume all the way up on your computer?
Sorry?
Is the volume all the way up on your computer?
Yep. We are gonna try it again with the volume all the way up in my computer. We'll see exactly what I did. Okay. I don't know if you could hear it. Okay, I hope you could hear it. Now we will hear another version by a flamenco singer, and you will notice how different is it. Okay, I hope you could hear that. Just you notice the immediately difference in tempo. No, the classical version is slower than the flamenco. There's a question of fiato. You also could hear the difference in the recording. the flamenco version was recorded separately, the flamenco, the singer and the orchestra, because if not, the orchestra would have covered the singer. There's so many differences that had to be decided according of your opinion on the piece, no? On you what you think it should be communicated, no? So I do not expect to find final answers to all the questions I made before, no? Many others, even though practical decisions will have to be taken in each performance. Maybe performers reach their interpretation simply by meditating on these decisions they make, even if the consequences are unforeseeable and open to debate. This is how performers stand over mere reproduction and casual judgment. This ultimately means that a life devoted to mere production cannot provide answers, and only by making a step backwards and questioning and delaying oneself, one can generate value. And it's a little bit what I have been trying to do here at Elsewhere. No? Also, as well, in addition to all of these things, I have been working on a book, which I just finished, on Friedrich Nietzsche and Rome, for a Trespice editorial, which will appear next year. Well, this is my presentation, and since they asked me to show that indeed I conduct, it's not just only talk, I'm gonna put a little, to conclude, a little video of myself, okay? And I finish, I conclude with that. So it will be this, hopefully it works. This is me.
That's a huge orchestra. Do you think they miss you, Raphael?
Sorry, can you hear it or not?
We can hear it slightly, but the visuals are still really cool.
Okay, so we leave it there, and that's it. Thank you for letting me know. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Raphael. That was fantastic. It's so great to see both your work. It's, yeah, really, really wonderful. Let me see if we have any questions. I'll go over to Facebook. Doesn't look like anything is coming on Facebook.
I got a question for Raphael. Does your orchestra miss you? Do you miss them? What's the deal?
I hope both. No, I come back right now. No? The point, everybody misses in these days everything, no, because we cannot perform. I mean, my last concert was in March, early March, no? And about 1 week later, Spain entered in a lockdown. So it was the last concert. Also, it was a huge one with 200 people in the chorus, 80 in the orchestra. It was a huge thing. I think nobody got the COVID there. But until things don't change, big production won't happen. Nonetheless, I think in Spain they are having more concerts than here, no? And as far as I know, they plan to continue, no? So hopefully I can do some music with them, with my orchestra, starting in November, at least one concert there, and then in the spring. We'll see.
I have one more question for you, Raphael.
And then I have for you too.
So, considering the size of the orchestra that you conduct with the crowd there too, what do you do the night of to prepare, you know, for conducting? It seems like such a big role, really important. Is it?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Actually, what I do is never study the day before. That's very important. Never, never, never go over the pieces. No, forget completely the score. No, I generally conduct without score. No, but we are always all the time checking out your memory is working, and it's very important to take distance. Okay, so the day before has to be an important day, a special day, which you cannot do the routine of every day. So you cannot study. You cannot,
Wow.
neither the day of the concert, you cannot study. I mean, the day of the concert is a special day in which you have to walk to a walk. If you do, if you study, you are too close to the score. And what you need to do is to do music. The score is not the music is what happens beyond the score. So that's it.
No kidding. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Rafael, you also have a question that came in from Abby. Abby asks, if you were to conduct a symphony about your month in Paonia, what would it sound like? On the contrary to what you expected it to sound like.
Okay. Okay. I would have all my friends performing this fantastic symphony, no? Which means all of you. All of you will be in the orchestra. No? Each one will be doing whatever he or she wants, no? Or better. No? This is what I would like. What's the second part of the question on this, on the contrary, which is interesting because it creates an opposition, no? Is what are my expectations? What if I understand correctly? Well, actually, I don't have. I think that when you conduct something, it's the musicians who are the center. You should not be the center. You should not. You have your ideas, but you cannot impose them on the performers, on the musicians. You have to hear. You don't have to. You have to force. You have to invite them to follow a path, but they will or they will not. So my answering this wonderful question, I would say that definitely I will have an orchestra with all of you to hear you and to continue learning from you.
That's beautiful.
I also have questions.
Love it.
A question for Jake. I don't know if it's possible to do questions to the audience. I don't know if it's acceptable in this format. Okay.
If they want to answer, they can, but you can try.
Okay. Or maybe we can put a question even if it has not an answer. No.
Mm-hmm.
It's not important to answer. No. Well, first the question to Jake. I love very much your videos. No, you work so much. It was beautiful. I would like to ask you, in the cave, no, when you put these candles, no, light candles, what you wanted to? Do you have any narrative there? Do you have anything beyond? Because I interpret them those candles in a certain way. Okay.
Cool.
I would like to hear you have build any kind of narrative.
Yeah. So it was at the end of the day, I think that the illumination at the end of the cave was as important as what was there. And so just kind of creating that mood of ominous, crawling to that point, and then I think the candles were one way to get it there, but a way to get fire in that space where it was controlled. Having the 3 candles allowing me to kind of do that detail part at the end as well as the candlestick holder I found there. So I was like, okay, I found this, then now I can use it. And yeah, to me, I guess it turns into some sort of a ritualistic kind of aesthetic. It's kind of a shrine sort of deal. Yeah, that's that's where my head's at with it. I'd be curious to hear what your take on it was.
Well, no, yes, it's very, very, very close to your point, no? Yeah, it kind of surprised me to that image there, no? Which I kind of well, is that explanation that you gave is exactly what I thought it would be, you know. But definitely, after all these inanimate objects, no, that were all around your videos, appear these scandals, no, as a kind of contrast, no, as the interiority, as something, you know, in another position, no, in yourself, no. So I like it very much.
Cool. Love it.
Yeah.
Jake, you have another question from Abby.
Yeah.
Do you think there will be more spooky caves in the future of your artwork?
I hope. I hope. That's why, you know, this was such a cool experience, because I was able to do something that I've never been able to do. Things like this don't really pop up too often in the Midwest. And so, especially that space off of Crawford Road was really just like a giant sandbox to play in. And I just got lucky and found that thing on the last week. And it all just kind of came together that way. So, you know, it's makes me think of like cave diving and stuff like that. I know that's like a real hobby of people's and stuff. And it's really kind of a thrilling thing to do. So, yeah, I hope there's more of it in the future. Yep.
Raphael, I have a question for you. Something that you were speaking about your research with Nietzsche and music. Where was the crossover? What was happening in the writing and the music and how it combined?
I didn't hear the last part. There was some barking in your...
Oh, sorry. You were talking about how you were studying Nietzsche as well as music, and if I got it right, it was in relation to your writing on music. How is that relating? Can you speak more on that?
Yeah, well, as you know, I have different, I spend my time in different ways, no? Okay, on the one hand, I have a full musical career, and then also an academic career, and then also a creative writing career. No? This book is related to the creative writing. It's going to be published as a creative book, although everything that is in it is historically based. It's not just complete. It's not invented. It's the situation, no? The context, what is the creative. Well, how it is related to music? Well, actually, for me, there's not much difference between creative writing, philosophy, and music. For me, I'm not three people. I'm not three persons. No? I'm just one, in which everything combines. And I'm particularly interested in authors who have experience, of course, in a very much sophisticated way and developed way, these three kinds of interests. No? That's why came the idea of Nietzsche. No? I spent some time in Rome. I spent 2 years and a half. No? And Nietzsche was there, no? and his experience in the city was very important. Nietzsche was a musician. Nietzsche is a philosopher, but Nietzsche is a writer. And he's interesting as a philosopher because he's a poet, and he has a good philosophy because he previously was a musician.
He worked with Wagner, right?
Well, yeah. Actually, he even composed big pieces. He was a composer. He wrote chamber music. He wrote piano solo music. He also wrote a mass, no, a motet for the style of Palestrina, and even orchestral music. No, so
Hmm.
this is really. But when he was around 18, 19, he had a crisis. He wanted to be Schumann, he wanted to be a Wagner, and he was only Nietzsche. And unfortunately for humanity, he decided to tour into philosophy. but in truth, he always considered himself a musician. It was definitely his passion. So in this book, I always follow his debates on music in the Renaissance, and the work in the Baroque, the polemic with Bach now, and all that. Well, and I use all this in order to do to turn around Rome and discover different angles, no, from the point of view of his philosophy, and also his opinions about the Italian musicians and the debates on opera. That kind, you know.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't want just to leave before doing this. If I may, putting this question to this lady that she asked me about the theme of the symphony. I would like, even if she cannot answer here in this format, I would like to know, or to think in which kind of symphony she would like to be when me conducting. This is what I would like for her to think about.
Let's see if we get an answer to that. Well, while we wait for an answer to your question, Jake, if you're still there,
Yep.
welcome back.
Hey.
I am wondering what the next step with the animations are. Are you going to go more into the studio now that your residency is concluding, or are you going to continue doing more field work, going out and animating in nature? Do you have a certain direction you're planning on going in?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go back into the studio and continue working on the drawing and painting animations. I have those 3 backdrop drawings ready to go, so I think I'm gonna get back and get started on that animation. This was sort of me taking a stab at animating and with real life objects and stuff, which has always been on my mind. But I figured it would just be a good time to give it a shot. So it's nice to know there's some potential there. But in terms of working out in the field for it, probably won't happen again for a while. I'll probably set things up in the studio, like an installation, and try to make animations about something that happened in a specific room or something like that. Yeah, this whole month was really set up like, there's a lot of just bluebird days and stuff like that, because once clouds come in, it kind of gets a little iffy. And the Midwest, it's pretty up and down, especially with the rain and things. So anyways, who knows? But yeah, I'll probably start working on those in studio animations when I get back. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, Raphael, I don't think there was any answers to your question as of now from the attendees. And we're running a bit late now, so I think Carolina just messaged, not a question, but to Jake, your boundless curiosity and sense of adventure is very inspiring. thanks for sharing your tales with us. And Raphael, beautiful way of thinking and work. Hope you both come back.
Hey,
I second that. Hope you both come back as well.
well, thank you both. We've had an awesome time here. It's been amazing.
Oh, the question came in. So Abby says, would just want to hear what Paonia sounds like from the ears of a professional Spanish musician.
He needs a piano. Get this man a piano.
Oh, it was really quite a treat when you guys came over and played the other day. The hearing you play was really wonderful. Well, thank you guys. And that was a wonderful talk. We'll see everyone that showed up next time. All right. Goodbye.
See ya.
See ya.